I'm seeing a lot of posts on Instagram flying left and right saying that this show is between this Brazilian guy and Regan. Excuse me, I don't, forgive me, I don't remember the guy's name. But I don't believe that is only between both of them. And people are saying that Regan is going to win because I see Milo's helping him with transitioning, posing, and holding pose and stuff like that. And Jay Cutler, stuff like that. But I do not believe that just because you have this legend helping you, it automatically guarantee you win. It doesn't happen. He himself knows that, right? The reason why I'm saying that Regan is not going to win the show because you need legs in bodybuilding, right? Look, because these Brazilian guys, you see the deep cuts in their leg, the triations and everything. In order to be successful in professional bodybuilding, you have to have leg and back. Those two body parts are the most essential body parts in bodybuilding. Your legs and your back. There is a saying that shows a win from the back, right? It does not necessarily mean that you don't have to have a other body part to win a show, but those two body parts are what carries you far in bodybuilding, right? You can every other body part can catch up with it. But for some reason, we all know that Regan Leg Downside, for some reason, maybe he had injury, maybe he had some issues. Nobody knows, But I don't think Regan Leg would be enough to win him California Pro. Except something happy, you never know. But I don't think he can make that drastic change within the space of 3 weeks from New York to Cali to be able to do that. Except, I don't know. We shall see. But a lot of people already count Sas out of the show. I believe Sas is going to win the show because this will be Sas' fourth show of the year. Yes. Detroit started from Detroit against William Bonac. He lost. Against Andrew in Fibo, he lost. He came to New York. I think he played the size game in New York. That is why he dropped in point. And now he's going against Regan and all the Brazilian guys. So I don't know. Like I said, is my prediction that he's gonna win. I want to know what you guys think in the comment section below. I don't know this dude. This dude is from just pop out of nowhere. This is one thing I love about bodybuilding. When you think you've seen it all, you think you've seen the most craziest body parts, somebody would just walk out of the woodwork. Look at this dude's leg. His leg is crazy. Just imagine Regan having this leg underneath him. It's game over for everybody. Even Olympia is going to be a problem. But you know what? God don't give everybody. God don't give you everything. We're not perfect. There's gonna be some thing that we have to constantly work on. So yeah, this guy legs is crazy, but his upper body have a lot of catch up to do. Yeah, this dude look good. Good vacuum, good shoulder. The chest need to come so a little bit more. Good legs. When I say his chest, it's just for his body. I'm not comparing to anybody else. That hamstring is like a pregnant woman belly. God damn, bro. That is some legs and some hamstring. So this is the comparison. They're not even talking about Sas. Yeah, I don't think Regan will win the show. I'm sorry to say, Regan fan. I love Regan, but we're just strictly bodybuilding. We're talking about this is a constructive criticism. It's not about he's a mediocre bodybuilder. It's not. I'm just saying against the people he's going to compete against are not some pushover. So it's going to be tough. Regan upper body has improved a lot. This sucks, on New York. So I think that Sas played the conditioning game. I think he kind of looked flat a little bit. I think his body wasn't responding. The previous shows he did, like in Fibo, like in Detroit, he was on fire, but in New York, for some reason, his body just like, nah, I'm not responding this time. His leg wasn't that full. Even the fight I tried to play the conditioning game because I know he was bigger, in New York than in Fibo and Detroit. So yeah, he still might pick to win the show. I want to know what you guys think in the comment section below. I want to know who you guys think is going to win the show and the reason why you guys think is going to win. And like you said, the reason why I think Sas is going to win because Sas has been competing and he has been looking good. When I say he looked like this, he looked great. Don't get me wrong. I'm just comparing him to his previous shows, so I'm not comparing
Hi
against
everyone,
this
Tyler
guy.
Mannion
So,
here,
guys,
NBC
listen
Pro League Vice
to
President.
the
This will be your
man
New York
himself,
Pro recap for
Regan
Classic
Legs.
Physique,
Please subscribe, share,
brought to you
comment. I'll
by
see you in the
New
next one.
Tech.
Peace. I'm
So
out.
obviously we had a rematch of Terrence and Jose from last week in Pittsburgh. Again, both these guys brought really good packages. I think Jose was basically about the same, which is extremely impressive because, again, the conditioning is just next level that he brings. For Terrence, I thought he was much better than he was at Pittsburgh, especially during prejudging. I thought that his peak was nailed perfectly this time. And because of this, I feel like the show wasn't nearly as close between Terrence and Jose this week than it was last week. So obviously, just to go again real fast through the poses, the front double bicep pose is Terrence. You just see the overall balance between the upper and the lower body. Obviously, great taper in the small waist. Arms are balanced with everything now too. Jose still could use obviously a little bit more to his arms. His waist is a little bit wider than Terrence's, and he just doesn't have enough leg width and quad sweep to the front. Side chest, I thought, was much closer between the two this week. You can actually argue that Terrence could take the side chest pose from Jose this week. And why do I say that? Because you see the fullness in Terrence's chest compared to Jose's. Jose's, even though it's striated, is a little bit on the flatter side. He still could use some more thickness there. The shoulders and arms, you can see the difference. Terrence's outer arm here compared to Jose's. Jose still needs more to his arms. I think more than any other pose, you see that he needs more arms in this side chest pose. Now, lower body, I felt like they were very similar. Obviously, Jose's lower body is great. His side leg is crazy detailed because of his conditioning. He has great size to it. Terrence still has good size to his side leg. You know, his hamstring can still come up a little bit, and their conditioning was very close to each other. If you're just looking at pictures and video, Terrence has a very dark skin tone, so I think sometimes his true conditioning doesn't show the way it does when you're in person. I mean, especially from the judges table, because his conditioning was bang on this time, and he was full. He had that pop to his physique. You know, he was a little bit on the flatter side. He didn't have that same fullness in Pittsburgh last week as he did this week in New York. This week, he was bursting full and really conditioned. So this pose is almost a toss-up pose. It's very close between the two. Just because of size and crazy conditioning, you can give it to Jose. Or if you like, again, the overall balance between the upper and the lower body and the overall flow to the pose, really you could give this to Terrence. For me, this week, I like Terrence a little bit more in this side chest pose just because his flaws really don't stick out as much as Jose's, and the conditioning was really close to each other. Next up is the back double bicep pose. Obviously, this is Jose's best pose. It's going to be extremely hard for someone to beat him in this pose. I thought Terrence's back double looked a lot better than it did last week, so he was definitely closer to Jose in this pose, but it's still a clear pose for Jose. Terrence just still needs to obviously continue to work on improving all parts of this pose. You know, the hamstrings, the leg width to the back itself, even the arms, if they come up a little bit more, will make this pose look a lot better. For Jose, this is probably where his arms look the best out of all the poses. Still could come up a little bit more in size, definitely with the triceps. More tricep size will help this pose, but other than that, his back is crazy. The hamstrings, the leg width, and the overall conditioning is absolutely insane. So this was Jose's pose. The abdominal and thigh pose, for me, this was a more clear pose for Terrence this week. Why is that? Again, he was really full with better conditioning, so the lines and everything stuck out more. His overall balance is great. Jose's abs definitely got deeper. Like I said last week, they're definitely deeper than they were last year, but I think could still be a little bit deeper. They were just a touch more washed out here than they were in Pittsburgh, and obviously he needs more of that quad sweep and that leg width from the front. Finally, is your favorite classic pose. For me, this went to Terrence as well. Jose actually hits a pretty decent twisting back double, although I think it could still be a little bit better. Terrence hit a twisting back double as well. Terrence hits the twisting back double really well. But again, for both of these guys, I'm not sure if that's their best favorite classic pose to choose. I think they both look better when they're hitting one of their poses from the front, that's facing the front. But overall for me, still Terrence, overall balance, the conditioning, the fullness, the roundness, he takes that overall classic pose for me over Jose for the reasons that I stated before. So again, I feel like Jose really has made a name for himself these last 2 weeks and is definitely one to look out for at the Olympia. I have a feeling he's going to make some small improvements that are going to go a long way just this year in the next 5 months before the show. And then obviously Terrence as well is going to have time to improve. So it's going to be really interesting to see what these guys come back to the Olympia and look like. In third place, we had Richard. Again, Richard just needs more overall size to his back, more overall thickness, really in the lower lats and lower back especially. He still needs more overall hamstrings, and he could actually use a little bit more size to his arms as well. But again, really nice, clean physique, good balance overall, and very good conditioning. In fourth, we had Murat. I think for Murat, the main thing he can work on is adding more overall size to his back, more overall thickness to his back. He needs more width. He needs more depth. He needs more detail. I feel like for him, that's the main thing he needs to work on. Murat can also use a little bit more thickness to his chest as well. That's going to help how his chest looks in a lot of the poses. So for him, those would be the two main things that I would work on. His conditioning was also very, very good. So again, all the top guys in Classic bringing really, really good conditioning to the shows. Overall, I thought, again, a very, very good top 4 for Classic. Next up will be your New York Pro recap for men's physique. So I think we had a very solid top 4. Specifically, I think the top 3 looked really, really good at this show. Before I get into what each one needs to work on, I feel like the differentiating factor between Brandon and obviously Edvon and Andre is overall size. This is a good time to point out, being the biggest does not mean you're going to have the best physique on stage. So yes, did Brandon look a little bit smaller than both Edvon and Andre? Yes, he did. But in my opinion, Edvon and Andre both need to streamline their physiques down just a little bit more. Specifically, the arms and shoulders. The arms and shoulders on both these guys are on the bigger side. You know, I think Edvon has done a good job of trying to do this, and he's been continuing to do this. That's why he still does really well, and he has really an overall great look. Andre hasn't competed in a long time. I think he streamlined his physique a little bit better than what it used to be. However, again, the arms and the shoulders were actually, in my opinion, even bigger than Edvon's. So when we get into Brandon brought much better overall conditioning. I felt like the conditioning from the front was probably very comparable with what he brought to Pittsburgh. However, from the back, he was much tighter. But going forward, and looking forward to the Olympia, Brandon really has to improve on his back. It needs more depth and detail to it, and definitely needs more width to it. You see from the front, Brandon looks like he has really, really nice width. His front pose is still, one of the best overall in men's physique. But from the back, you don't get that same width. And even though he was in much, much better condition, that depth and detail, everything is just not, pushing out enough where we need to see it from the back when we're looking forward to the guys that he's going to, be at the Olympia with. I thought it was a pretty close show between him and Edvon. I liked Edvon's back pose more than Brandon's. But again, from the front, I think Brandon is very, very dominating. And size-wise, he's more in line with what we want to see in men's physique. In second was Edvon, and obviously, as I just told you, he has to streamline the arms and shoulders down a little bit more. He's just a little bit still on the big side. Nothing crazy, but it still needs to be streamlined. And then from the back, I felt like his back has definitely improved. You see more detail in his back now. I thought the pop to his back, the detail and fullness stayed better during the comparisons than it did in Pittsburgh. He still can use more width to balance out his physique, especially in this back pose, but overall, it's a very, very improved back pose. Again, the conditioning was very good as well, just as Brandon's. And obviously going into Andre brought really, really good conditioning. For me, I think Andre's posing hurt him a lot. He wasn't always getting in the same front pose. When he's in the front pose, he really is crunching in on those abs. And when he's crunching in and almost sinking down on the abs, he's kind of rounding his shoulders forward a little bit, which in turn makes his upper chest seem a little bit flat. But then also, we're not seeing the amount of taper and the width that we should be seeing in the front pose. So I feel like if he can work on his front pose, it's going to really change the way he's presenting himself. Again, the arms and the shoulders need to be streamlined down more. They have to come down in size a little bit more. I feel like they're on the bigger side, so that's actually could be hurting how he's presenting himself too and what kind of taper that he's showing because those arms are big. Then from the back, Andre, you can see, has a really, really good back. However, his back pose, again, I think was doing himself no justice. He was standing almost too straight up, and he was also rounding his shoulders forward. Doing this was flattening out the amount of depth and detail that he could present back there. I also think doing this was taking away a little bit of his width in this pose as well. I think if he can adjust this pose, his back is going to look even crazier. He can have one of the best backs on stage, on any stage that he goes on. So for me, presentation was a really big hindrance for Andre at this show, and it's very, very correctable. And if he's able to correct this, I think actually could look like almost a different guy the next time he comes on stage if he can bring the same conditioning. So for him, I thought a very, very strong comeback show. Obviously, he beat a lot of other Olympians that were in this lineup in the process. And I feel like if he's able to keep tinkering with his presentation, also streamlining, the arms and shoulders down a little bit more, he can continue to make a big climb up the ranks. And in fourth, we had Ricardo. For me, Ricardo still brought overall solid conditioning. It was a little bit on the flatter side at this show. You can see, obviously, he still needs to work on, like I said before, more of that upper chest. And then he obviously needs more to his lower lats as well. Conditioning just needs to bring that same conditioning probably that he brought to Pittsburgh, where he was much fuller. And because of that, he seemed more detailed and had more pop to his physique.